have freelance graphic designer and director of marketing for
Yes.
DePaul University. Chris Corr. Thank you for coming on. This is episode number 3 of the After Hours podcast.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
yeah, not a problem. Um, yeah. So how about you kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in esports and things like that.
Yeah, so right now I'm 19. I'm going to be 20 in August. I started playing Call of Duty at a young age, and that was primarily the only game I would play. I would obviously play like some sports games on the side, like Madden and stuff, but Call of Duty was my main game. So then in, I don't know, 2012, 2013, when I was like 12 and 13, I started, seeing more and more of like Nade Shot and like Optic Gaming and everyone uploading, gaming videos, and like they weren't making tons of money at that time, but I was seeing like they were, having sort of a career out of it. So
Right.
that's when I decided to make a YouTube channel. And I think that was like 7th or 8th grade for me. And I was just doing like just random gaming videos and stuff, literally recording with a Rock Band mic and
Yeah.
Xbox game DVR. And before I had an Xbox One, I was literally recording with my phone on the 360. So I started off with YouTube and then did that for a couple years, uploaded tons of videos, and I didn't really blow up or anything. I didn't get a lot of support. I really put a lot of time into my videos, though. That's what sucked
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
So with YouTube videos, you obviously have to make YouTube thumbnails. So
Right.
I learned how to use Photoshop to make thumbnails, and then fast forward to me doing it for other people on the side of doing my own. And then I started to realize I could, make a couple dollars here and there from thumbnails. So I ultimately, after that, just decided to pursue more graphic design work rather than YouTube. So I took a break from YouTube and decided to do graphic design pretty much, and started off doing it for free. Then, charge a couple dollars, and then now here I am at 6 years later of graphic design experience. And then uh, about a year and a half ago, I started doing some like freelance social media work as well. So I manage 8 Facebook pages. They're
Okay.
all they're all gaming related. So I pretty much just schedule posts, make designs for them, stuff like that. And that kind of led into what I do now on the side while studying at DePaul. I also am the director of marketing at for DePaul's Esports program. So
Mm-hmm.
they're essentially trying to become like a hub for esports, at least in the Chicago area. So we just started this leadership board 6 weeks ago, and we've already done like tons and tons of events and chatted with like 45 companies, and everyone knows our name. A lot of people want to get involved. So starting like next quarter in the fall, we should, have a really big impact on the esports ecosystem within Chicago itself.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty awesome. That's a good solid backstory for you and all that. I kind of want to go back into the graphic design. So everything you did is entirely self-taught, correct?
Correct. I took one class my senior year of high school. I didn't even
Yeah.
take graphic design one. I went to graphic design two because I showed the teacher my portfolio, and I'm like, I don't want to waste my time with graphic design one.
Right.
And literally graphic design two, I didn't do anything the entire class because everything I already knew. So I would just sit there and literally play music. Like she didn't mind at all. But yeah,
Right.
completely self-taught, not even like YouTube tutorials, because I didn't even want to sit there and watch like a tutorial on how to do something and then try to mimic it. So it was
Yeah.
more of the whole first year that I did designs, I pretty much did them for free. So
Okay.
that's how I picked
That was
up.
your learning process.
Yes.
Okay.
And every design I try to do like something a little bit different, or if I saw something that someone did, I try to see if I can do that as well.
Right. Um so what you were 19 now? So you were what, 13, 14 when you started? Like the
Yes.
first time? Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean that's definitely, you know, obviously 6 years of experience that it's kind of hard to get worse over time. So, I'm sure you're doing a good job and your progression is obviously showing. Um, So for Hmm. So how about so what is what goes into, getting that first client? Like I know you mentioned you did a lot of work for free to work on your craft and all that. But what when you decided you can make money out of this, maybe you want to pursue it more as a career, how did you go about getting that first, actual client?
Yeah, so I've always held myself to more of like a professional standard as far as, addressing people, and like I wasn't tweeting out, who needs GFX, or,
Huh.
randomly like trying to promote, dollar graphics, stuff like that. That's never the way I want to do it, because the way designing works is there a client's going to value you at what you value yourself at.
Right.
There'll always be someone who will pay what you want to charge. So that's the way I looked at it. So one of the ways I got clients, well, first I started off as a YouTuber, so I had tons of friends who were YouTubers that started with me and then blew up and needed graphics. So like one of them, for example, I knew him when he had 5,000 subs. Now he has over 2 million. So it's just
Oh wow.
finding those people that I already knew. Plus, I did so many times I would just randomly like message people and email them and like cold call to see if they need any graphics at all. Just putting myself out there. Even if they don't respond, at least they see my website and like it's in their head if they ever need something.
Yeah.
So that was a majority of how I got like bigger name clients. Other than that, it was pretty much just Twitter and trying to get people to trust me. And once you get, I've always been the type that as well, like testimonials are a big thing to me. So whenever I get clients, I try to make sure that I get testimonials from them so that other people can rely on those testimonials.
Yeah, that testimonials are definitely a big asset, especially like for someone who's coming to you and doesn't know you, and that they see that there's people there that have good experiences with you. So I definitely, I definitely agree that that's good. Um, so have you ever done, or did you ever just do, the let me throw together a I don't know, header or whatever it ended up being, or a new logo for X, Y, and Z content creator? Or did you kind of never really do that? Or you do just for the hustling of the, making that conversation and going from there?
Yeah, I've done some stuff for just like practice or fun for a bunch of
Okay.
different people. A bunch of a couple years ago, I did a lot of optic stuff just because
Yeah.
I was and still am a huge fan of optic. So I made a bunch of stuff for them, and just a chance that they might see it or use it. It's not so much. I don't care what I get paid for it. Like I made something for Boogie 2988 a couple years
Hmm.
ago, and he saw it and said he wanted to use it. But like that was the good parts of it, because it's a way for you to actually connect with these creators that you watch. It's like
Right.
it's like for example, I mean, this isn't him responding, but I made a Hundred Thieves revamp right when he first launched that organization, and he dropped a favorite or like whatever it was at that time on
Yeah. Yeah.
on the revamp itself on Twitter, and
Oh, that's
like
cool.
he didn't respond, but that was just so cool to me that he actually saw it.
Right. Yeah. No, I know that feeling.
Yeah, it used to
That's
be
yeah.
Y instinct.
Why why does everybody it's always Y instinct? It was just supposed to be an I. I don't know how I got so far off what I was going for with that. Oh, man. I miss my graphic design times. Like, sometimes, every once in a while, I'll, like, try to sit down and do a piece just, for the hell of it, or something for Sector 6 or whatever, like, for whatever reason, and I get really, like, involved, and I, like, get really excited about it, and then, I don't know, I kinda just I don't know. It's very it's a craft that you have to put a lot of time into, or maybe not a lot of time, but you have to stay consistent with. Because if you stop doing it, you either, forget how to do something, or you're not as clean, doing it's just like anything.
I agree.
Um,
That's
but
kind of like where I'm at now, just because
yeah,
I've kind of stepped back a little bit from design and am exploring different pathways, like marketing, for example.
right.
But it's a good thing because I do have those years of experience that I can do pretty much a majority of the stuff in a quick matter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely good. Um, so so I guess this could be a good segue into the marketing role you have at DePaul. How did that? Is it DePaul? Am I saying it right?
Yes, DePaul.
DePaul. How how did you put that together? Were you part of the group that started the esports or the esports? What is it? A branch over there or the club
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
school? Are you
it's
part of that group that started it?
so I'm not part of the group that started. So I'm a sophomore currently. I'll be a junior next year. DePaul's on
Right.
trimester, so I'm not even out of school yet. Not till
Okay.
the end of this week. But I wasn't part of the original starting it. I think it started a couple years ago. But last
Okay.
year they put in like a gaming center, like a dedicated to esports gaming center, and so that caught my attention. And then I actually saw that they were hiring, not hiring, but recruiting for. It's called the DePaul Esports Student Leadership Board. So essentially, we are the group of students that are trying to bring together the entire DePaul esports community and make it, have an impact on the Chicago ecosystem. And we're trying to like show DePaul that this is a viable option and it's not just for gaming, that you can have business majors involved, you could have journalism, you could have broadcasting, anything like that. So that we're trying to build so many different things right now to show that there is viable career options. So that I'm the director of marketing, there's director of academics, there's uh, director of leadership who like manages the teams that we have, and it's just we're sort of the branch that is in charge of making DePaul esports something big.
Gotcha. So how did you end up getting into the marketing role? Were you interested in marketing? Was that just kind of something that came with time, or did you go into it with the expectation that that's what you wanted?
Yeah, so marketing always interested me. I mean, graphic design is a great tool to have if you're in any department of marketing. So I
Right.
always thought that would be like something that I have an edge on maybe someone else. So I also do like the freelance social media managing on the side for the Facebook pages. So I also
Mhm.
have that under my belt. So I've applied to a bunch of marketing roles and I kind of just wanted, someone to give me the chance on proving myself that I can make something of it, because it's something you can study, but you got to actually show that you can, you know, grow with Twitter or grow with social media engagement, something like that. So when I applied to this, I luckily saw it on the DePaul Facebook group for
Okay.
my graduation class, and luckily I saw that because I would have never known that they were making this program, and now it's great because now I'm going to be part of it for the next 3 years at least. Getting people underneath me because I'm the director, but starting next year we're going to try to have people under each one of our directors.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really cool for the next few years. So I'm glad I got the opportunity to be part of it.
Yeah, especially like at like so early into your college career. Everybody like from the sector 6 side of what we do, everybody that, I deal with at a college is typically most of the time they're a senior or it's the end of their junior year or whatever it ends up being. So I mean, it's good that you have, a lot of time to help mold that from like the like executive type level of the marketing branch.
Yeah.
Um cool. Uh So, so how much of a like a I guess a say or involvement do you have with like the teams and such over there?
So what do you mean exactly? Like,
Or does DePaul have like competing teams that play in any collegiate tournaments or anything like that, or is it more like club based and you just play internally?
yeah, so our collegiate teams are Rocket League and League of Legends.
Okay.
DePaul's the largest Catholic university in the country, so
Uh huh.
they have very moral values as
Okay.
far as certain games. So pretty much any of the M-rated games we aren't allowed to compete in,
Ah.
or it's like CS:GO, like. But we have a whole community at DePaul, so we have an Overwatch club, we have CS:GO clubs, we have tons of stuff. So it's more of we're trying to bridge the gap between them all, and it's probably not going to happen where we have them playing collegiately, but they are competing in their own tournaments. They're just not comp- officially under DePaul in a sense.
Right.
It's hard
Yeah.
to explain, but yeah.
Yeah. It makes it. It's definitely hard to explain. I know exactly what you're talking about, though. It's something we deal with over here a lot. So with the teams that compete, the Rocket League team and the League of Legends team, do you have any like direct, like obviously you're all on campus and I'm sure you're all friendly to some extent, but do you have any direct like encounters with them about, putting together marketing plans and, you know, uh, prior to matches that they play or whatever? Is there any like type of back and forth at the quote unquote professional level?
Yeah, so that's probably not so much these. So that I've only been in this position for 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
This board has only been around for 6 weeks. There was
Oh,
DePaul Esports before, but none of
right.
this like trying to bring it all together. So in the 6 weeks, I haven't been one on one with those teams. We have a person who's the director of leadership who kind of takes on that role to be the person between us and the teams. So,
Okay.
but starting next year, that's when I should be myself or whoever I get underneath me will be handling, making sure every, because like for right now, we've only been posting, overall DePaul esports stuff on our social media, but obviously we want to also, highlight our clubs and other teams as much as we possibly can. So next year we want to have, that outlet to where if they need something, let's say they have an event going on in 2 weeks that needs flyers and like posting on social media, they'll be able to reach out to my marketing team and we can get that handled for them.
Cool. Um, how so? How do you How do you juggle school, your marketing role, your freelance work, and your day job, I guess, as you would call it?
if you
What is
if
the
you think
best way
this
to do that?
if you think this is a lie, you should have seen me last summer. um I've always been the type that kind of just fills my plate as much as I can until it ends negatively. but
Uh-huh.
but yeah, I manage it pretty well. My freelance social media role only takes a few hours a week because you can schedule your post out for the entire week. So that
Right.
only takes a couple hours a week. My DePaul role that I'm daily communicating with the rest of the board and DePaul esports in general about it, but most of the actual physical work for it, is maybe just a couple hours a week because it's just a volunteer role. It's not meant to take up my whole time. Plus, they understand I'm a student.
Right.
As far as school wise, I pretty much just pick one day out of the week, usually the weekends, and I just get all my work done on that day. And then working
Do
parts.
you
Go ahead.
do you have sorry to cut you off. Do you physically attend class and just then like your homework or your coursework or whatever is done on the weekends, or do you like is it like a work what is it? Like an online school that you're kind of doing that you could all do everything on the weekends?
No, it's I attend all my, at least for this quarter, all my classes are in person.
Okay.
I used to take more online classes. So like last summer at this time, I was working full time and going to school full time, but that's because I was taking half my classes online.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I can never do it. For online schooling, so I went to school for what a year and a half. I think I dropped out of my third semester. Um, and after that, I was gonna go to Full Sail. And I signed everything up. I did the first class, and I sat through the first lecture, and I was like, no, yeah, no,
It's
and
just
I didn't go to the next one.
it's hard to get
It's just tough.
yourself to sit there and do it.
Yeah, yeah, and I thought it'd be so easy because like I spent um however many at the time, what 2 or 3 years, just doing whatever freelance graphic design I found on my own, and I could make the time for that, and I was happy to make the time for that. And then I figure, oh, if I go educate myself in a field that I'm interested in, I'm going to want to do it. And then priorities happened, and I just never wanted to do it.
I'm the
So
same way. Like
yeah,
I can't bring myself to sit here and do homework for hours. It bores me to death.
yeah. Um. So then, so you're getting into your day job.
Oh yeah, so Target. I work at Target part time.
Uh huh.
I do I'm in the electronics department, so just basic retail. Um, been there for 5 months now, I think, and I do
Okay.
that. Before that, I did graphic designing full time for a couple months, so we could get into that a little bit later. But yeah, for managing that job, I mean, I only work about 20 hours a week, 25 max, so that's just a couple days during the week, and then like half the days on the weekends. So just
Yeah.
just managing time. And then as far as like my freelance clients, I don't get that many clients just because I really don't need the extra clients because I my social media job and other jobs really handle my income well enough for me. But when I do get clients, it's just on the weekends whenever I get free time.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so as a former Target employee, I have to ask you, do you I mean, so I always envied the people who worked in electronics before I was like management because it always seemed a little bit more laid back there. Um, do you enjoy it? Is it like a good kind of side job? Or do you hate it?
Yeah, so
Or you know?
I've gone through plenty of jobs,
Uh-huh.
not in a bad way. I just always like to move on to, better jobs that I can get. So,
Uh-huh.
but I've been at Target for about 5 months now, and it's overall pretty chill. I mean, I work in electronics. No one really bothers me that much. Stuff is pretty simple. If you never worked, the only thing I didn't like is my store did a bad job like training me. But
Okay.
because I've worked in retail before, it's not that hard at all to adjust. And now I have,
Yeah.
and a lot of people that work there are young, around my age, so can relate to other people. And it's just overall a chill job. It's not too difficult, and it's only a few days a week, so I enjoy it.
Yeah, I started at Target as a cashier and moved like around a bunch, but I really enjoyed it as like a side job, while I was doing whatever else I was doing and then I got promoted and was management there, and then I very quickly was I felt I put too much into it and wasn't getting enough out of it, I think is the best way to describe it because I enjoyed it and all, but you know, eventually you got to move on to bigger and better things, I guess was
Yeah.
my thought process. um, yeah, so you said let's get a little bit more into the full time graphic design you were doing. What'd you say a year ago, 6 months ago?
Yeah, so I worked I was working full time last summer. That was my
Yeah.
first literal full time job. So I was working at FedEx office 8 hours a
Okay.
day, Monday through Friday, and then doing school, some days during the week and then on weekends, and then having my freelance social media job where I manage the Facebook pages and then still, Chris Studios on the side. So it's a very packed schedule at that time, and then my that job literally just drove me nuts. Just there was so much going on, so many moving pieces, and then the management there really wasn't that good. And I was making enough money at the time where I was like, you know what, I could actually just go into designing full time, like designing in social media full time if I really wanted to. Like this is my chance to see if I can, be able to sustain myself enough with it. So I ended school in like second week of November, and I ended my job Halloween. So I had whole of November pretty much and December to see if I can make something of it. And I ended up, finding tons more clients and doing it full time. And then I like tripled my income that I was making with my full time job. So I was like, wow, this is like really good. But then the bad part is at the end of it, I couldn't handle it anymore just being at home and not having like a
Yeah.
place to go to every day. So I think
Yeah.
if I did this full time, it would have to actually be in an office.
Yeah, 100%. We we there was a stint that we were in between offices for a month and a half or so, and I got that and when I moved to Texas in September, I mean, we worked from home for 2 or 3 months then. Like, it's just you get in such a rut. It's like a a constant get up, eat, get to your desk, work, get up, eat, get to your desk, work, sleep, like, and repeat. And it's like, you fall into a routine and it's nothing changes and you're just in the same spot. And it just kind of like depressing isn't the right word, but it gets like bummy, I guess
Yeah.
is the word.
And the thing was, literally what my schedule was, so my freelance social media job would literally take me a couple hours a week. So I would knock that out, on one day, and then I would have my clients and stuff that obviously wouldn't take 8 hours to do everything that I would have to do. So I would literally wake up, let's say like 8, 9 o'clock, get my work done before noon, and then I just had to figure out what I was going to do the rest of the day because I was out of class because I was on winter break, and then I didn't have a job on the side, so it would literally just be do I go hang out with my girlfriend? Do I go hang out with my friends? If none of that happens, what am I doing with the rest of my day?
Yeah, you always try to, get your not necessarily plan your day out, but you always did you always feel that you had to do something or you weren't like, making or taking advantage of your time type thing?
Yes, I'm the type that
Yeah.
I can't sit and I used to be able to be where I could sit home and play video games all day. I literally cannot do that anymore. If I don't like spending the day at home at all.
Now is that well, specifically for video games, because I think I'm the same way here. Is it because you don't enjoy video games anymore, or is it just because when you're sitting in front of your computer or your PlayStation or whatever you're playing and you spend 3 to 4 hours or however long, is it because you're missing 3 to 4 hours of productivity, or is it that you just don't enjoy it as much as you used to?
I think overall I just don't enjoy it as much as I used to. Like
Yeah.
I've I literally haven't played a game genuinely since probably Advanced Warfare maybe. And
Oh, wow.
and other than that it's just been kind of like, here and there I'll play with friends like when Fortnite
Oh,
blew up, I played with friends, Apex Legends when it first came out, but never really getting into it as much as I used to be back in the day because it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't satisfy me anymore.
yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Do you watch anything at all? Like esports wise?
Not as much as anymore as I used to. I used to watch like Call of Duty Esports a lot, and then Fortnite I would watch when it first was blowing up, and even CS:GO a little bit. I was into CS:GO for about a year, played that a lot, but not really anymore. Even less than I should be.
Damn. What do you what do you what do you do in your like your free time, like your leisure time? Like what is your kind of, thing to do when you're not working, if there is one?
I like to I started this same time I started doing the designing full time, so like October, November. Getting more into like collecting and like stuff like that, like sports memorabilia or like just signed items in general.
Oh
So
yeah?
that's like something I am interested in on the side. Even like I'm always in the entrepreneurial mood where I like to
Uh-huh.
like flip stuff and do stuff like that. So if I find a great deal on something that I know that I can flip for more money, I take advantage of it. Always have that, business kind of mentality.
So is your intention with the sports memorabilia stuff, like if you find it at a garage sale or on Let Go or whatever it ends up being, is your intention to flip it, or is it more that you want it to have it to collect it, to build your own collection,
It
or
it
both?
depends on the item. Like there's a few things that in my collection that I'm never going to sell and I never want to sell,
Right.
but there's plenty that I've already sold. Like my collection has literally changed like 90% of its things probably 3 or 4 times already.
What is What is your most either I guess two part. What is your most valuable piece and what is your most like sentimental piece?
Most sentimental would be my Brian Urlacher. I don't know if do you know who Brian Urlacher is?
Yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah, so he's
yeah.
my favorite player growing up. I wore his number in football, and yeah, I met him last November. Got him to sign a helmet for me, and it's like a fully like tricked out helmet. I guess it's
Oh
kind of like
wow.
a two-part item. I had him sign that, and then I also bought a signed jersey, and then I got
Okay.
the jersey framed, and in the side there's a picture of me meeting him.
Is the helmet like a Bears helmet, or like is it yours from when you played?
No, it's like a blacked out. It's like an NFL helmet, but it's blacked out and it has the Hall of Fame logo on it since he got inducted into the Hall of Fame last year.
Is that, I mean, that little group of items could also possibly be your most valuable piece. Is that the case?
Uh, I mean, it depends if we're talking about what I paid versus what it's actually worth. Because there's some stuff that, like that item right there, I overpaid for just because I wanted to meet him.
Right.
But I would say my most valuable item is probably my. I have a Stanley signed poster. It's the Avengers. It's a 16 by
Oh, wow.
20, and what makes it more expensive is it's a rare type of photo. Like there's his autographs usually go for like 200 to 250, but because of the photo, it goes for more. And then I'm getting it. It's in the process of getting framed right now, which adds 100 and something right there in value.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. I love that. I love that stuff. Like I love I appreciate people who have like that type of stuff and they put it on display, but for whatever reason I can never, I don't know if I can't part ways with the money to buy those things, or it's just I don't do a good enough job of keeping the things that are of value, but for whatever reason I can't maintain that type of collection. I'm hoping this new office that we're in allows me to do that somehow, because I'm just going to start to put things
Kind of
together.
like how
But
Hex is doing.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That like the backdrop he has, or not. It's not really a
Is
backdrop. It's like a
yeah.
whole wall at this point. But yeah, like that type of thing. Like I would walk in there and be like, "Oh, this is what is this? What is this?" But each and everything on his thing on his wall, has some type of value to him. Um, so that is ultimately what I would like to build out. I don't know how far or how long it'll take for me to get to that point, though. Um, so I wanted to ask this when we were talking about graphic design, so we could kind of wrap back into this a little bit. Um, what? How do you build your pricing? Like what this I feel like this has always been a hot topic in the graphic design community, especially like in esports, because in the beginning people didn't want to spend money and it was about getting your name out there, and then as people started, it was more of the norm to start paying for things. Like I feel like there was never really a system in place for how, or like a set system in place for how people charge or how they put together their pricing and things like that. So what was your thought process behind that?
It's a great question. So my thought process was originally I didn't have set prices. So I mean I first started with set prices when I would only charge a few dollars per item. But then
Right.
when I started to value my time more and started to value my graphics more and that I was improving on them, I decided that I would charge a higher amount, but I didn't have set prices. I had them in mind, but I wouldn't advertise them anywhere. So if someone came to me for a design, I would first like ask what is their budget, because at a few like I started to realize, I had enough to where I didn't really rely on the clients. So
Right.
they would kind of need to make it worth my time in a sense.
Right.
So I would first ask what their budget was, and if it was, nowhere near, like if they wanted to, pay $5 for something, that I'm not going to waste my time with it. But that also like separates out, certain clients who I don't really want to be involved with. But I would. It also brought me like clients who are willing to pay top dollar and willing to, value my time. And those are the relationships I wanted to build, not with people who would complain that I'm, overcharging or whatever they want to say. But now I'm back to set prices only because I don't know, it's kind of just something on the side where I don't really need to charge as much as I did before. So like my prices that you would see on my website right now are less than what I did 2 years ago, which in a sense doesn't make sense because I should be increasing my prices over time, but it's just because I don't need that entire income anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Cool. Um, so I think, yeah, we touched on this a little bit back before too, about how how you went and got your clients. So do you is everything now kind of just word of mouth or word of mouth and like people recommend you or it's kind of all organic? Do you do any outreach still? What does that kind of process look like, your client acquisition?
Yeah, so I really don't do any outreach anymore.
Right.
Most of it is word of mouth. I have a lot of people who, like, if they see someone tweeting that they need graphics, they'll recommend me to them, or they just, have friends
Mhm.
in general who need designs, and before they even post, they just tell them to come to me. Just because I've always been the type that keeps good relationships with clients. I've never really, been exposed for anything. I've never done anything really wrong. So I always, keep those good relationships intact so that I can have that word of mouth. And then as far as like organic reaching out, yeah, some people do just, randomly DM me on Twitter that they need something, or just tweet at me that they're interested in, getting designs. And that's always good because overall it's good because I really don't do outreach anymore. So it's kind of just whatever comes my way is whatever comes my way.
Yeah. Um if so assuming you didn't like without, exposing not exposing, but like without going against a contract that you may have signed for this, but what would have been or what was your most memorable client that you were paid to work with?
Let me think for a second.
Or maybe one that it doesn't necessarily, I guess, have to be paid, but like someone who maybe you whether it was paid or it was someone who you were like, I'm gonna do work for this guy and he's gonna give me X amount of exposure
Mhm.
and he actually ended up using it type thing.
Yeah, so
Either
I'll
one.
give a I'll give two. So the first one would be this was I was working at the movie theater, and randomly I got a
Okay.
DM from Rice Gum on Twitter, and
Oh,
he said, he's starting a clothing line with PewDiePie, and he's looking for designers to make designs for the t-shirts, which is something I've never done before. And I don't do drawings or anything. I really am only like social media. Like that's my specialty. So this was something
right.
kind of out of my comfort zone from the start, but it was Rice Gum DMing me, which was when he was blowing up at that time. That's like when he
Yeah.
was, changing into the Rice Gum that we know now. And
Yeah.
so I immediately was like, wow, this is, amazing. I got to take advantage of it. Overall, I dropped the ball on it. But the cool fact was, so like I didn't really take my time on the designs. I just wasn't interested in making clothing designs because it's just something I never did before. And
Right.
I was seeing, what other people were making for it. And I was like, this is nowhere near what I was even gonna do. So I ended up like not even trying really, but at one point he said like he reached out and he asked like who's the best 20 designers in the community, and that's how he got my name. So like I thought that was really cool out of it because there's so many people who are better than me, but that was so cool that he actually reached out to me. Um, Another client that I like successfully did was that I'm proud of would be the YouTuber that I said that I knew from 5,000 subscribers. His name's Hollow Point.
Right.
Hollow Point has
Okay.
like 2 million subs right now, and made I made a revamp for him I think a year or two ago. Can I just go into a couple more clients actually? Yeah,
Yeah,
now
yeah,
that
that's fine.
now that
Keep
I'm
going.
looking over my work, I'm seeing more. I worked with Robert Morris University, which is a university in Chicago. They
Okay.
were the first ever collegiate esports program in the country, and I worked with
Yep.
them 3 years ago now, I think, on like
Oh
social
wow.
media designs for them, and they sent me like a care package of like gear and uh, peripherals and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool that I actually worked with a university, even though they probably have like graphic design majors there and stuff like that. But yeah, one more would probably be another. I think the coolest ones are the ones where I actually work with people that I watch, because like
Right. Yeah.
another Call of Duty YouTuber I used to always watch was Prestigious Key, and he has
Mhm.
over 1 million subs I think now, and I did designs for him, so it's cool because those are people that I actually enjoyed watching and get to talk to.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. I'm over here looking going through your portfolio as well. You got a long history of things that you put together over the years here, which is pretty cool. Um, so as a designer, obviously, or any I guess contracted type of job, a website is super important, obviously. Um, how many iterations of your personal website have you gone through?
Probably 10 by now. I used to go.
Probably
I've
10, yeah.
I've changed my name plenty of times. Chris Studios is what I've had for probably 4 years now. But before that, I went through, especially in the YouTube career, I went through a bunch of names, so I kept having to change my website. But it was like Weebly and Wix at that time. But as far as
Right.
like within the last few years, as I've been Chris Studios, I've probably changed the overall like theme of my website maybe 3 or 4 times. I'm probably gonna do it soon. I actually wrote down that I should do it soon, but it's
Yeah.
just something to keep it fresh and updated.
Yeah, exactly. Um, do you do all of this on your own, or do you have like a do you work with somebody to do it, or is it like a is there like a web hosting service you
Yeah, so
use?
the first Chris Studios website I hired one of my friends in the community that does websites. He just made like a WordPress
Right.
site. That's when I didn't know how to use WordPress at that time, but since then I've
Yep.
actually learned how to use it pretty much fully. So I've made
Okay.
all of mine since then on WordPress, and I've even made like a couple clients' websites on WordPress just because now I'm more familiar with it. And it's like advanced Weebly and Wix in a sense. You just buy a theme and then make it to how you want.
Yeah. Yeah, we used WordPress for a little bit, and oh no, we didn't use WordPress. We used WooCommerce. Never mind. I mean, I like building websites. Like, obviously, I manage the Sector 6 one from the aesthetic standpoint, at least. It's fun to put all those things together, but at the same time, I don't know the first thing about putting code in a line for it to make sense. So I don't know if you do any of that, but that stuff is a
Yeah, so
mess.
I was originally when I first came to DePaul, I was a cybersecurity major, and 2 weeks in, I switched to web development, and that was because I wanted to be like a one-stop shop for anyone that came. Like I could do your logo design all the way to your website fully coded. But the more and more I did coding, the more I just didn't enjoy it. I just was very bored, couldn't get into it because it's one of those things. If you don't like it, you're not going to want to do it. And
Right.
so since then, I switched to business admin with a minor in IT because I literally took like a year and a half of IT classes. So I'm one class away right now
Mhm.
from a minor in IT.
Well, that's good. Do you see yourself graduating with that business admin bachelor?
Yes, I'm gonna stick with this degree because it's more. I think that's the problem I had. I needed like something more general, and I've always been interested in business. That's kind of like my goal is just to own some kind of company afterwards, and
Yeah.
primarily in esports because that's where I would like to be. But so yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna stick with business admin.
Well, so what is and it's okay if you don't have one, obviously, but do you have a plan post graduation, like as far as work goes
Not
or
not
income goes?
necessarily. I mean, I think this DePaul marketing role is definitely going to help me find like an esports related role afterwards because I'm making connections within the program as well.
Right.
There's alumni that work at different companies, and we're having like speakers come and talk, and then I connect with them and network, and that's a good way to get the ball rolling for it. As far as what I would actually do after it all depends. I kind of always had this idea in mind that by the time I graduate, I want to already have a business that's like, getting off the ground so that I can go straight into that right after. But
Yeah.
nothing has come of that
Do you
yet.
have uh, do you have any ideas as to what you want that business to be? I know you mentioned in esports, but is there anything like, one field or the other specific in esports, or you haven't made it that far yet?
Probably haven't made it that far. I've tried to dive into a couple of things, try to start a couple things like last year. Right now, I'm just way too busy to get into it. But last year, I tried
Right.
a few things, and it's one of those things where I get an idea and I get like really involved into it, and then certain things just don't go right, and then all right, we gotta put this on the back burner for now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, getting I'm so graphic design was it's as successful as it was for you because you've been doing it for 6 years and you haven't stopped. So I would expect. I mean, it's pretty apparent that in most business cases where people start their own business, it's just kind of keep your foot on the gas and go and be all in on it. Um, you sound like somebody who is probably a fan or a somewhat viewer of Gary Vee.
Yeah, I've watched him a few times.
So I mean, obviously he preaches that just kind of do it until it doesn't work type attitude. So I'm sure you'll put something together, whether it's in esports, out of esports. So I'm sure you'll find something you enjoy as time goes on. But you have what 2.5 years or what is it? We're in
Yeah,
summer
and
now, so two
that's
more
if I don't
years.
go for my masters too.
What would you get your masters in?
I don't know, to be honest.
Is that just- Oh,
Would have to decide at
uh,
that time.
yeah. I mean that would. Yeah, that'd be a lot of
Yeah.
schooling. Was there something that you wanted to do when you were a kid, like, before graphic design? Were you growing up wanting to be, like, a lawyer or whatever?
Um, not really in a sense. I mean,
No?
I started gaming at a young age and started seeing one on
Yeah,
YouTube right away, and that
that's
kind
true.
of my original plan was to make YouTube videos. Like that's what I want to do. But and I had a lot of fun doing it. It's just there was no results. And one of the biggest regrets I have is deleting all my YouTube videos from that whole year. Deleted
Oh,
all of them. I
no.
don't know why, but I would have loved to gone back and watch them. But yeah, I mean, I guess like business is something I've always been interested. Like I watched Shark Tank since the beginning, and always have been thinking about business and things of that industry.
Yeah. I, uh I watch a lot of Shark Tank as well. There's a lot of cool things that go through there, so it's good to, get your mind kinda going on potential ideas and things like that. Yeah. So I think probably wrap it up there. Do you have anything we didn't cover or any closing remarks?
Just thank you for having me on. I hope that whoever is listening to this and enjoyed hearing my story. And it's never too late to start anything that you want to do. There's If you want to get into graphic design, there's new designers every single day, and it's nowhere near easier now than it was before. I hope I said that right. I'm saying it's easier now to learn than before because
Yeah,
there's so many resources out there, and there's so many people willing to help. I mean, if you guys ever need help with designing or anything at all, you can reach me. Sure, he'll have all my social media. Yeah,
plug it. Plug it anyway.
Twitter will be at Chris_studios. So
Yeah,
you guys can contact me anywhere if you guys have questions or about me or graphic design or DePaul or college esports, whatever you guys want to know about starting your own business. I know Zach can tell you more about that because he's on another level than I am. But yeah, anything like that, you guys can contact me.
cool. Great. Well, yeah. Thank you. This was episode number 3. If you are listening on audio, please make sure to leave a review, follow whatever audio source that is, and if you're on YouTube, obviously like and subscribe if you can. I'd really appreciate it. I guess I'll see you all on the next one. Bye.
Adios.